Hi there, folks. Simon here. Welcome back to the 2024 March Intermediate TAC Open. This is the semifinals match between Gruppler and Phase Spaced. We already watched a game one between them when Phase Spaced won with a road as white. So now it's Gruppler's chance to try and come back and tie this thing up. If they do tie it up, it will take them to a split game, which means they need to play blitz tiebreaker. And that's a pretty big deal. It makes it very, very different in terms of how the game is played because blitz is very different from regular tag play. Makes it very difficult. But we're not playing blitz right now. We are playing just the regular tournament game, which is 6x6 on a 15-minute timer with a 10-second increment, meaning 10 seconds gets added to your time after every turn. And 2 Comey, meaning that 2 gets added to Black's flat count score at the end of the game if the game does not end in a road. And I am joined once again by ManaT in the commentary box, the ranked number 3 player. So without any further ado, let's jump right in to game 2. All right, we go for adjacent corners this time, not the opposite corners, and going straight into that Knight's opening. Gruppler seems to have prepared this opening.
This is different.
I like the capstone at C3 more than a flat at C3 here, because of that. Because black can drop a capstone at C4, and then that becomes problematic for you as white.
I'm going to be completely honest. This is a completely new opening for me. I've never seen this configuration before.
It
I
is
don't
a
know what to make of it
very common one for players right now, especially in the intermediate zone. Very, very common. Go for that
to
nice
move
opening.
from the edge into the center like that?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Is there a theory behind this?
So the idea of playing at B3, right, Knight's opening standard, when it gets countered by B4, you play at A3 so you can either go vertical or continue horizontal. So it keeps both of them alive with momentum for white. And then playing at C3 moves towards the middle, going for the horizontal still. But if you play it with a capstone instead of a flat at C3, it makes it harder to disrupt with that capstone at C4. At least that's my understanding of it. I am not one that like prescribes to
Okay.
openings as much. But yeah.
Well, I think I don't know if I prepare openings out to move 5 or 6, but there's general ideas of what's good in an opening that I adhere to. For example, I don't like adjacent corners. I like opposite corners.
Yeah. Pretty standard that opposite is better.
And I like being able to reach the outside, but also attack the center, which is why the Knight's opening is my preferred move these days.
Mm-hmm.
But the move A3, I'm not convinced by.
Yeah, it's either A3 or C3 is what your go-to play after B4 is played. A3 I see typically from the intermediate players, C3 I see from the higher players.
I guess I can understand why A3 might make you think it's a good move. It may even be a good move. I don't know. I haven't thought enough about it. I That B2 move. Wow. Okay, so the captain comes out onto B2 and feels very isolated now. It basically has to form. It has to self-capture to come back into the game, right?
Yep, it really does. But I'm not sure that's such a bad thing at this point. But yeah, it doesn't look too great because of that.
Okay. Well, now self-capture onto C2 at least looks good on paper because it because it could smash in either direction, and therefore,
Yeah,
right, and it's a hard capstone. So
that's true.
I think that would have made it make sense to me.
Yeah.
But instead, black comes down.
With the
That's
self
a spicy one.
smash. That is a spicy one. I think they were anticipating a self capture from white's capstone. White's play at e4. They go in for a vertical or just trying to cut off black from going for their horizontal? I guess ideally both.
If they're not willing to move that capstone onto c2, I don't know how they're ever going to have a capstone in the fight.
Yeah.
And if they don't have a capstone in the fight, it's
Playing with your hands tied behind your back.
it's going to be very hard for them to beat that Comey of 2.
Now here's what I think is interesting. We've got black building for this vertical, knowing they can throw that capstone all the way to the right, and white building for the vertical, but they can get there faster. But if they build didn't go for the e5 placement. If they went for the e5 placement, black would have probably thrown that capstone to the right to cut off the vertical threat and also make their own vertical threat. But now I'm interested in what's going to happen here. Now black's just playing for the horizontal along the top. It not looking bad for black, to be honest. It's looking fairly okay.
Yeah.
Now this is where I think you take that capstone to the right, or you bring the wall to the right, the D2 wall. Yeah, D2 wall was the better move, I feel. Now, yeah, Mediocre to Borland in the chat saying playing at D2 goes for a sort of sneaky threat. Like it's not a threat. It is a threat to play at D2 here, being able to throw that D5 stack down to go 2D5 minus 1/1, mix the horizontal road.
And it's the kind of thing that black could miss.
Absolutely.
You don't think about throwing flat stacks. It's just one of those things that doesn't happen, so you don't think about it.
Yep. Doesn't go for it, instead plays at D4. Probably didn't spot that was a threat. Or maybe saw that black could have dropped a wall at D4 and it would have been really bad for him later on. Something like that, maybe. I wasn't really looking too far ahead from that move.
Black should just play D2 here.
Yeah. Instead goes for the D6. They want to make that that vertical line. I think they're focused on the vertical threat here.
Maybe they think the throw from C3 is going to be missed or hard to spot somehow. But
now we've got the white threat.
Yep. Although it's a lot easier to see.
A lot easier to see because you got the D4, yeah. But if no, there's not really a way for black to miss that one. Oh, they missed it.
And yet they do.
So Gruppler takes game 2 if he spots his own win.
Let's see if
there's an undo, because there was an undo last game for Gruppler.
Yeah.
They did go for the undo.
There was an undo.
Gave him one. I mean, I feel like because Gruppler got one in the last game, it's only fair.
I think it's always fair. If somebody wants an undo and it's a tournament game, I'll probably give it to them. I don't have to. There's no obligation to, but I probably would.
Yeah,
To me, it doesn't feel controversial.
I pretty much give undos in every single game I play except for tournament games.
Which I think that's legitimate. I mean, that's a defensible place to not give undos because it's a tournament. You've said this isn't just a friendly match,
Yeah.
and
And I mean,
you
I
have
need
to
every
win or
advantage I
lose on
can
your own
get.
merits. I think if you're going to play a tournament game, really any game these days, you have to go in with the mindset of it's okay to lose. And if you're okay with losing, giving your opponent the undo doesn't even hurt.
That is true.
There's a philosophical thing here that I'm trying to talk about.
I'm not one for philosophy mostly. I'm interested in what's going to happen here. White's making the threat again. Does black bring the capstone to the right?
I think I would. Yeah. I might bring the whole stack.
That's what I was thinking. Whole stack. And then if you do 2e3 right, you're making the threat vertically by throwing the capstone up or by bringing the d6 to the right. Or, no, instead of doing 2e3 right here, you bring the capstone up, spread. So you do 4d3 plus 3, 1, which gives you the vertical and the horizontal threat at the same time. And the only thing that stops them both.
And it gives you that d5 stack to defend the e5
Yes.
um,
Yeah, I think that would be
base.
Tinuay.
Although f5 is a little harder.
I think, depending on what white does here, that 43 plus 3, 1 is Tinuay. But again, depends on what white does here.
Feels bad. Um, is the best move just to run away with the stack? It might be.
With the d5 stack?
It's Yeah, so 2d5 to the right, and then probably you have black will want to play a wall to chase it, or we'll try to force the chase, or maybe there's a better move. But if you don't play d5 right, you allow that stack spread up.
Yep, now it's Tinuay. Oh, didn't play the Tinuay. Going for a just attack threat. The Tinuay was hard to spot. But at least now we've got. Oh wait, black was the one who missed Tinuay on its previous game anyway. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say at least they both
So
have
I'm
missed
not
Tinuays now. But no.
trying to decide if I actually think it's Tinuay. Um, would have been Tinuay.
Yeah. I think it would have been.
F6 F6 down is at the very least a long line. Well, it's a hypothetical branch. That's not the way the game went. So let's look at this.
All right, and so the road threat has been stopped, but now black's making another one. Relentlessly pursuing multiple road threats. It's my kind of play. Comes down with it. Oh. See, here's where I would be incredibly tempted to capture up with c3. And I knew you'd be like, but that's, opening yourself up because of flat on flat captures. But it's so juicy.
Um, yes,
And
it
it's
is,
and it's protected by
but
that
white's doing
capstone.
nothing.
Mm,
White just doesn't have anything going on, and they have a bunch of liabilities.
yeah, their
So,
main thing is
like, it's juicy, but
they can make a threat on
do you need
d4.
it?
Placing a flat
Then
at
just play
d4 is a
d4
threat.
yourself.
Yeah.
Then just black plays d4 right now. No more threat. It's not that white can't build a threat. It it's that they're just sort of cut down the middle diagonal. That uh, early cap placement on b2 really making their lives hard.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So here is the question. I was gonna say, do you now capture?
Yeah, I think d4 left was better.
I agree with that. I was seeing the
Um,
same thing. I was like, yeah, d4 left would have been really good.
well, maybe it's not that much better. The reason I was thinking it would be better is because your c3 stack was doing something on that white horizontal movement, but it's not really. You don't really want to use that stack. So maybe moving it actually ends up being better
Yeah.
because it opens up the space to put something that's actually better at defense, like a wall, eventually, if it's needed.
Hmm.
Um,
I think here you just play at what, c5?
you could play. You like chaos. 2e3 plus is a threat by throwing the capstone left, and it might get missed.
That's true. That is a good move. I would have missed that. Yeah, that would have been fun. And it would have invited the e5 stack to come down and make a huge stack for you to capture. Right next to your
Yeah,
capstone, even.
yeah.
And with a wall in play to capture it, too. So it would have been really good. For here, I want to take that c4 stack and do 3c4 right 1 2. And just bring it to the right, capture on top of e4, set it up to make some other vertical captures, and just get it away from that wall, but also just keep it in play and set up to take control of that stack at e5 maybe. Like there's a lot you can do with that move. No, he goes for the smash instead.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that move and I hadn't figured out if I liked it or not. But you've got that hard capstone. It needs to convert eventually.
Yeah.
Um, and there wasn't. I don't think there's ever going to be a really juicy target for it. On the other hand, did you need to spend it yet? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, what are they? Oh, there's a saying, and I'm just trying to use it, and I've completely lost the actual.
That doesn't do much for you as white. Yeah,
It
c6
was
here.
something like the. It was something like the best The best bullet is the one you never have to fire, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. All right, white comes down. This is making a threat for white. Black probably going to come right with that wall stack onto f2.
Yeah, I would just do it.
Yeah, wall stack coming onto f2 makes a lot of sense, but it could also be something that black misses since he hasn't had to worry about that horizontal threat in so long. Doesn't miss it though. Spots the threat.
It completely nullifies the threat. There's no chance for white to renew it.
But white can drop a
I think
wall to
black's
be able
happy
to
with that.
capture up onto e3 and then to d3. Black runs away with it. I was gonna say you could drop another wall there at e3 and that'd be great because either way you're getting a big stack. Granted, you probably still want to run that e4 away a little bit potentially. No, because you lose any capture war up at the top. Because I was saying because the
So the
black
interesting thing
capstone can
here,
smash.
so the interesting thing with this position, now that I step back a little bit from the screen, metaphorically speaking, um, look at how few reserves white has.
Yeah,
Black has been spending way more of this game capturing than they needed to, potentially. If white gets some of those captives, and now they, by placing that e3, they were kind of guaranteed to, there's a whole field of black flatstones to cover. There's no way you defend that. So white might be, I think white's winning this game now. It felt like black had such control for a long time, but no, I think white's winning.
let's see. I mean, it's 13 to 12 in favor of white. However, black does have a lot of good positive flat count differential moves. Black is also making a threat right now. He's probably going to capture right with his capstone and smash on e4. He does. White making a threat in the vertical direction. I can see black just dropping an a6. Dropping an a6 stops the vertical, at least temporarily. And then when white plays at b6 or whatever, black just... oh, that's an interesting play. Never mind, all of what I said is invalid now. Yeah, I was going to say, you have to recapture that. But now does black capture that from afar, whether it be... I mean, it's not going to be with the capstone, because the capstone will create a road for white if he does that. But he can throw that d4 stack all the way to the left on a4.
No, I think you just put a wall on b4.
But mine is more fun.
Well, maybe. But
Because
it's just making white spread down. White's got no chance of ever making that road on the horizontal there.
but they want the vertical.
And it gives you a defender on the vertical. Black still has to figure out some way to capitalize on the liabilities they have access to. This is kind of an advanced concept. Liabilities, I think you can generally say liabilities are bad, right? By capturing, you're creating a liability. You shouldn't be doing it. But when is a liability not a liability? When the spread from the liberated flat isn't covering your stones. So if you look at, as an example, E5, there's two black flats under E5. If black liberates those, it can't use both of them to spread out over a white flat. It can only use one of them to spread over a white flat. So the fact that there's two liabilities there, it's really only one liability.
True.
My problem with black's position, this almost feels like a stalemate. White and black are roughly equivalent. They're probably neither of them are ever going to make a road at this point, outside of something being missed. But black can't really make use of those liabilities. And they're down in flats and down on reserves. So I feel like with careful play, white should be able to convert this.
Well, that's why I was saying if you take the d4 stack and spread it all the way to the left, you will win the capture war on a4. And then you spread it upwards when white walls at b4 or whatever. And when you spread it upwards, you're setting yourself up to go for horizontal threat with a bunch of different anchor points. I think from there it's pretty much over. But I mean, I could be overestimating that. This is where black can still do that play. And it's stronger. But black? No, black can't win. I thought black could win
Well,
here.
black has to do something because otherwise white wins. There's a
Yeah, yeah.
threat.
But I think because I was trying to see if black could win here, they could bring their capstone all the way to a5 if they want. But I feel like the play is that d4 stack. But I don't. I expect way more things. I expect him to miss the vertical threat before he spots the d4 stack throw, just because it's so backwards seeming. Now this is an interesting situation. If white does not play at b6, b4, or a3, black might be able to pull off a Tinuay.
So black has a
Yeah,
road threat
the
going
threat.
on
Okay,
right
so
now.
so
White has to
b5
capture.
right. b5 right is the move, I guess, that would stop the potential Tinuay that I'm thinking of.
So
Yeah, I see something really good. So b5 right happens, and then you take c4 plus.
so what I'm looking at 4 from A4 going right 1 1 2.
Yeah.
And then black has to break up their horizontal threat to win the capture war. And does that buy you time to throw a flat down, throw a wall down? Okay, so they do your move.
Now, I still kind of like the throw of d4.
I mean, doesn't black just take A4?
Yes.
Keep it simple, right?
And then,
You got a capstone right next to a fat stack. Go
well,
take the fat stack.
then they wall on white walls on b4.
I think that's okay. Um, White still has no threats.
Mm-hmm.
That wall's not really threatening a stack. Um, and you could, I don't know, C4 plus, something like that.
There's a lot going on here.
Still think white's winning, but these stacks are far too tall for my taste.
I think black's winning here. Black just drops a flat instead. That is a bold move, Cotton.
So, do you just do that 4 from A4, right 1 2? Yeah, 1 1 2.
Yeah,
So
that's
now
what I
you've
was
got a
expecting to
vertical
happen.
threat, and black's capstones off in the Wilderlands.
Mm-hmm. There's the vertical threat. Now here, to me, you've got to capture d4. And you win any capture war on d4.
Yes.
And then also you can set up your spread after winning. If you spread vertically, you can set that up to get Tinue, I think.
Well, so you win the capture war, but then a wall comes down.
Yeah. So if the wall comes on d4, you spread left,
There's no
right?
way to.
You
There was
can't
no way to
win.
stack that so that the spread.
Yeah, you can't
Hmm.
spread all the way to a4 because of carry
There's
limits
also
now.
no way to stack it so that the wall can't capture something
This is actually not bad for
unless
black.
you have a threat.
This
Yeah.
works out really well for black, I feel.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so they can't win. The stack's too tall.
Yeah, but you take yeah, that wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Tinue. Well, that was fun.
I thought it was a fun game.
Yeah, really fun game. A lot of
See if
stuff to
it.
look at and scratch your head and think, what the heck is going on? How can I make this work?
White's capstone's still on B2.
Yep, hasn't been able to really move.
Uh, it did nothing the whole game. That was the biggest handicap for white.
Yep. That's why you got to pay attention to the capstones video of TAC University. Talks about how best to place your capstone using a number of guidelines. Goes for the toss. And that is a road for black. And the game over. So that is Phase
Good game.
Spaced winning game 2. Well played to both players. Congratulations to Phase Space for winning this match and moving on to the finals of this Intermediate Open. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun seeing that game. It was wild. Wild stack play, which was fun. But thanks for joining me here, ManaT.
Yeah, I think both players played well. I think there were some areas to improve. I don't want to speak badly of the players. There were some blunders. I think this was not a perfect game. I don't
Yeah.
think they would disagree with that statement. But I think they were interesting games. There was a lot of really hard stuff to do while you're on a clock, and we have the easy job, right, of
Oh
just
yeah.
only having to consider one move that we think is good.
For sure. And if they don't make it, we can just claim that it was the best move.
Exactly. If only they had known.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great being omniscient. But all right, that is all for today.
Cool.
Thanks for watching, folks. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the TAC Discord server, which is the community hub and where you can find all sorts of TAC resources like strategy guides and people to play with, whether that be on playtac.com or asynchronously through the Discord server itself. Lots and lots of great resources, great people to play with, lots of fun. So be sure to check that out. And until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.